are talking about Memorial Day on Catechist Stream. And as I said in the opening, while this Memorial Day holiday was something that's originated in the U.S., focused toward our soldiers that have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom, it's sort of commonly now an opportunity to reflect on anyone who has paid the ultimate sacrifice, And so we thought it'd be appropriate to include Ukraine because we've been talking about how do we recognize the situation, the terrible war that's happening in Ukraine. It's an ongoing crisis. And so we wanted to take a moment just to pause and remember those in Ukraine. The situation in Ukraine is extremely challenging for Catholics because it deals with the morality of violence and how to respect the dignity of all who are involved. And, on the surface, we can say one group is out of line and they've invaded and are killing the other group who are defending themselves and killing the invaders. And it becomes very complex and difficult to process. And at a recent Catholic leadership gathering, Laurie Johnston, who is the Associate Professor of Theology and Religious Studies at Emmanuel College, says the roots of Catholic ethical teaching on war are based on trying to follow two of Jesus's commandments at the same time: the commandment to love our neighbor and the commandment to love our enemies. And so it can be very difficult to reconcile those two things. And so it presents for us a challenge. And our focus today is not to delve into how to reconcile those things, but just to recognize the situation, how difficult it is, and focus on what can we do in that response. We already talked about remembrance leads to action. So the situation in Ukraine is one of many situations that are happening. It's not isolated. There are other wars going on in the world and violent situations. And so we wanted to recognize and remember the ongoing crisis and look at ways that Catholics are remembering and supporting those in Ukraine. So I wanted to share a couple of resources with you, the one being the Catholic Relief Services, and they're helping Ukrainian families. On their website, which is supportcrs.org/donate/donate-Ukraine, hopefully you can see that URL. You can make a donation if that's something that you're interested in doing. It's a Catholic organization that's providing relief. So this is the website you can go to. This explains a lot of what's going on and gives you the opportunity to very easily contribute so that we can provide relief to those who are in need. The next site I wanted to share is a Catholic Review page from the Archdiocese of Baltimore. And this is giving many ways to help Ukraine. And it just highlights the number of Catholic organizations that are already in process of helping people in Ukraine. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, I really do not know how I can help people in Ukraine. And financial contributions go a long way. So there are a few opportunities that are listed here. The International Caritas Confederation is collecting funds to help Caritas Ukraine. There are Catholic organizations that are international. And so while we may be connected to ones in the U.S., they certainly are operating in other countries as well. So that is one. The Ukrainian Catholic, I'm not sure how to say that word, Archeparchy of Philadelphia has a link. We've got 3 pontifical agencies. So Catholic Near East Welfare Association, Aid to the Church in Need, and the Pontifical Mission Society, Missio. They're all accepting donations. The Knights of Columbus. Perhaps you're a member of the Knights of Columbus in your local chapter and would like to contribute through the Knights of Columbus. And they have donated over $1 million for immediate distribution and will match all funds up to an additional $500,000. So there's a lot of great work. This goes on and on. Maybe you are a Jesuit or somehow affiliated with the Jesuit organization, the Jesuit Refugee Service. The Salesians are also accepting donations. There are a lot of Catholic organizations that are already in motion to support the folks in Ukraine. So I think it's very important just to recognize them and do what you can to show your support for those who are suffering. War really reminds us of how precious life is, and we want to remember that every day. We want to remember our precious lives. My wife is a nurse and said one of her colleagues just lost her husband. I mean, suddenly died. He's 50 years old, completely unexpected. Life is so precious. We don't know when our time will come. So let's keep that in mind as we are recognizing and trying to help those in need. Let's embrace the lives that we have and how precious they are. And we can't really talk about this without mentioning the tragedy that happened in Texas this week, the school shooting. I'm sure everyone's aware. So we just, from all of those involved with Sadler and Catechist Stream, want to share our thoughts and prayers and encourage you to pray for those families and the community there. We'll be sharing a link to a free resource in the chat box on how to help children cope with tragedy. So Ukraine is not an isolated event. We wanted to highlight Ukraine. There are a lot of ways to support the suffering there and provide relief. Our hearts and prayers go out to those in Texas and anyone suffering from tragedy. Life is so, so precious.